All right, so who's the guy in the picture? His name, I guess, is Mayad Rahal. I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, not on purpose if I am. Um, he was wanting to be a jerk to me about something to do with this girl. I don't know who she is, and I don't care. What are the chances that it's Miss Khatib? I guess it's probably pretty good. I don't know. Um, I don't want nothing to do with him. He's rude and presumptuous. Not my fault. All right, so we're going to get to the Michigan man. Uh, One of my videos today that I posted was from, I guess it was from a couple of years ago. I didn't see it until today. That's because it didn't come up on my news feed until today. So I guess this might be an older story too. I don't know. This guy in Michigan or Minnesota, something starts with an M. He had he was a sugar daddy basically. He got one of those, the well kept, well groomed, wears makeup, perfect form, perfect figure, so on and so forth. Basically, he got the ideal wife. She was absolutely beautiful. Now she was going to be a stay-at-home mom, but she was taking birth control the whole time that they were together. She wasn't getting pregnant, and he was wondering about that. Like, this woman wants to have a kid with me. And of course, she was fun when they first met. They met clubbing. When they get married, and she's not getting pregnant. It's weird. So one day he finds her birth control in the bathroom. She'd thrown the package away. She'd been hiding it in the bathroom, and she just had gotten careless. So, he confronted her about it. Now, by this point, she'd been a stay-at-home mother for a while. A not mother, stay-at-home mother. And she was always going out and partying with the girls and taking girls' nights out. And he was getting home from work and his wife wasn't there. No call, no show. He has no idea where she's at. I'll be here when you get back, honey. But when she disappears for, a full day and you've already called the cops twice and you're worried because your wife, who is drop dead gorgeous, we gotta all be afraid that people are gonna rape and kill the pretty ones and so on and so forth. So he's legit worried about his wife because she's not returning the phone calls, not returning the texts. And of course, if she texts him, she expects an immediate response. If he doesn't give her an immediate response, then it means that he's being selfish and he doesn't love her and doesn't care about her. And we're talking about like literally immediately. She wants him to literally, whether he's at work or at home or wherever else happens to be, she expects him to drop what he's doing at that very moment, or she's going to blow up his phone. Even if he's an important meeting. Now he's the breadwinner. He's the only one making an income in this family of two people. And his wife is always going out and doing fun stuff with her friends. One of her friends gets into a fight with her, comes and tells him about some of their antics out at the club and about how she's not faithful and about how she's been bragging about how, she's able to lead him on and get him to spend all this money and all she has to do is, put out once in a while and she's got everything that the works. She's got everything a gold digger could want, with the exception of the fact that the guy wasn't rich. He wasn't rich. He wanted to make his wife happy. He cashed in all of his assets so that he had the money to buy the things that she wanted. He went to work consistently every day, making sure that he had the money to make sure that he could pay the mortgage, that he could pay the roof over their head, that he could pay for both of their vehicles, both of their gas. Obviously, this isn't a man of modest means. He's got a decent amount of money if he's able to do that. He saved up a decent amount of money if he's able to do that. He's got a pretty decent job if he's able to and willing to keep and maintain the house and both vehicles and the gas and the insurance on both for him and for her. And she literally does not have to do anything except stay at home. That's all she has to do. And she doesn't have to stay at home. It's not like she's chained to the kitchen or even forced to cook. One of the things he was talking about is how he came home on several occasions, brought flowers and all of that nice stuff, and got some food from her favorite restaurant, got her favorite meal, and brought it home, and it sat on the table for a day. When she came home, she saw all that stuff on the table. She'd been out screwing around with the girls. She was still drunk almost. When I say almost, he could smell it. Another time he had to bail her out of jail because she'd gone to a club and gotten into a fight. I might get some of the details wrong, and I apologize, but I'm trying to tell it as freshly after reading the story as possible. Anyway, the guy's heartbroken, He really was hoping, just like with Big Jason Jepson, when he got married to Brandy Fish, he was hoping that he had a good woman. And Brandy Fish was still pretty good looking for her age. And, that's something that he talked about more than once, about how she was good looking for her age. Now, the thing with this guy in Michigan, right? So he's going through all this stuff, and his wife is out there clubbing, and she's, always the well-groomed type. But it got to the point, after just a few months, that she was coming home, and, all she would have to do is start an argument with him, and he would fold, and he would get her what she wants. He had his own bank account, and he allowed her to have part of his bank account so that she could actually spend the money as needed if there was an emergency. And it took just one emergency for him to change his mind from, all right, well, we've got this nuptial agreement where she's going to do her finances and I'll do mine. And, that was fine for her when he was paying her all sorts of money basically to be his girlfriend. He's paying for all of these services for this woman who's claiming that she's in love with him. And she does this fun clubbing stuff with him. And when she goes out and she does stuff, it's with him. And then once they're married, it's not like that anymore. Now she's going out with the girls. Now she's starting arguments, and she's angry with him because, well, no matter what, he can't do anything wrong. And he's trying to explain to her how finances work. And she just couldn't grasp the concept of the money that you're spending has to come from somewhere. And we're about to lose our house because we're 2 months behind on rent. This is after they've been married a little over a year. And he had been maintaining her party life through that entire time. Now, she had that party life with him before they got married, but it wasn't real heavy, She'd party a night or two a week, and she'd go out with him to do it. But they both had their own lives and their own thing going on, and she had a job, and he had a job, and they weren't living together. When they did decide to live together, she changed immediately. All of a sudden, she was somebody who was very demanding. She started off being soft and subtly demanding. But it was demanding nonetheless, because if she didn't get what she wanted, the nagging started immediately. She wanted to have a baby with him. Well, it turns out she never wanted to have a baby. She was never interested in having a baby. She was a few years younger than him. Not many, like 4 or 5 years younger than him. She wasn't like 18 years old. She was obviously an adult, aware of what her actions entailed and what the potential consequences should be for an adult. Anyway, what ended up happening is that he had explained to her, hey, you need to not spend money this month. Here's what it came down to, all right? There was a lot of stuff in the house that was just fine and it worked. There was no problem with any of it. But she didn't like specific colors of things, and she wanted to put a very fancy French molding around the interior of the house. Wanted to make it very pretty looking and buy some angel back chairs or angel wing chairs, whatever they're called. And this lady spent like $2,000 in materials and another $2,000 for these chairs. And meanwhile, like when she was doing that, what was not registering to her is that their account was already in the negatives. And she maxed them out on the only credit card that they had. So when he went to go try to max out that credit card so that he could pay the mortgage, they wouldn't let him do it because it was overdrawn. Now you would think that somebody with good credit and all that would be able to actually draw on it, even after a year of being married. But no, after a year of expenses like that, a year of him having to shuffle around hours and pick up extra hours, a year of her getting drunk every night on his dollar, her driving around in her vehicle on his dollar, her buying birth control on his dollar. Anyway, when she bought all this stuff, he had to pay for it. He had to pay for all of it, and he couldn't pay the mortgage, couldn't keep his house. And his wife blamed him for everything. He had made promises he was going to care for her, and he was going to love her until the end of the earth, and he was going to do this, and he was going to do that. So she ran around and said he was into little boys and more girls' panties, and she moved in with one of the guys that she had met at the club, and that didn't end up well. But she sued this guy that she was married to. And I can't remember the name of whatever it was that she was suing him for. It was something like something lifestyle. Basically, it's the lifestyle that she had gotten used to when she was married. Well, when they're divorced, he still owes her that. And so she sued him for that. And because the guy that she had moved in with, well, this dude's just been made homeless, all right? This guy who's married to this woman has just been made homeless by her decisions. Screwed over, maxed out every credit card he's got. And he should have shut her off sooner. And one of her friends kept coming to him and letting him know what she was up to. And he's not allowed to say anything about it, or he's stalking her, he's following her places. Like, no, she was doing a lot of this stuff while he was at work. Now, her friend that was coming and letting him know stuff, this is one of a whole bunch of people that she went out with to the club for their girls' nights out. And it ended up being that it wasn't a girls' nights out. They always went with boyfriends or, you know, guys that they were interested in, or they'd go clubbing specifically for specific guys, or they'd go to strip clubs for women, which apparently this lady liked to go to, but she also liked to be the boss. If he didn't do what she wanted right when she wanted it, she'd scream at him and yell at him and tell him that he's not going to be a good father. How could he be a good father if he couldn't even provide for his wife? Demasculating him. And isn't that always the way that it works? And then, of course, she's going to run around to all of his friends and family and her friends and family and say, hey, you know what? He's horrible with finances. He promised me the world, but he can't even pay the fucking bills. He's lazy. He can't even pay the bills. You know, she sued him and won. So not only was he responsible for the excess damages on the mortgage, and he was liable for all of the maxed out credit cards, he now had to pay her alimony plus a special, basically, tax on top of that that goes directly to her. It's basically a, what would you call it? An allowance for an adult who doesn't do anything. And that's one of the reasons that men are going their own way. We get that we're easily replaceable. No matter how hard we work, no matter how hard we work, we are one lie away from losing it all. Because if we catch our wives, our girlfriends, or even our mothers or sisters doing things that are wrong, it doesn't have to be sexual. When they do things that are wrong, we have to worry. If you bust her lying, she slanders your name and she wins, and that's as easy as it is. The really sad thing about this is that it's not only a true story for this guy, it's a true story for literally millions of men across the country. And every man in the world, right? Every man in the world is apparently supposed to be some sort of a horrible monster. There are some of us men who are career bitches. Myself included. We have to prostrate ourselves and subjugate ourselves in order to have even the tiniest taste of your humanity. We have to work 10 times harder to be included in anything. We have to work for less money, less recognition. There's a lot of us who are not the good-looking hunk that she wanted to hook up with. Some of us are not the rich sugar daddy that she wanted to hook up with. And there's a reason for that. We don't have anything that she wants. We're not rich enough to provide her lifestyle. We also have to be intelligent enough to pay the fuck attention to our goddamn surroundings. We have to know the current political climate as far as men and women go, what people's current opinions are of things. We have to mind our P's and Q's, because if we say something that a woman doesn't agree with, whether it's true or not is arbitrary. Just because you said something she doesn't agree with, she will be as mean as humanly possible. slandering your name potentially to people who will kill you over that kind of slander. No matter how much she posts up the LGBT flag, because that's what's popular today. Do not put it past her when you catch her lying that she might go to people that she knows hate homosexuals and tell them that she left you because she found out you were touching little boys. What's going to happen then? Or she goes to people who hate cross-dressers and says, oh, well, he wears my clothing. He wears my underwear and walks around the house in my underwear. And then it's I would never do that. Look, I support the LGBT community. I would never do that. Some of these women have done so blatantly and openly on Facebook and YouTube. And a lot of them, they want to have joint accounts with their boyfriends, right? So they can keep tabs on him. But then they have their own private account where they post up pictures of them partying with people. And then if the husband finds out about it, well, how dare he be spying on her? How dare he? Men going their own way, there is a reason that men are going their own way. Men earn barely more than women on average, and that is only because on average, men work 7 hours of overtime more than women. 7 hours of overtime per week than women. There's also so many women who don't have jobs because they have sugar daddies. There are so many women who have chosen to be stay-at-home moms. And yes, there are mothers who have chosen that. I know many of them. So, with women earning, what was it, $44,000 per year average, and men were earning $49,000 a year average. But women are more likely to be able to go to college for free. $120,000 a year. That means that almost 3 men's entire wages, including 7 hours of overtime every single week, in order to make enough money, if they literally do not spend a single dime of that money on themselves, not for food, not for gas, not for insurance, if they literally do not spend a single penny of that money on themselves, then they can pay for a woman to be a professional student, which means that she basically just racks up a whole bunch of doctorates, PhDs, bachelor's degrees. Of course, not in that order. You always start off with the bachelor's. But then she has to have work experience. Well, this is where internships come in. She doesn't get paid. She's an intern. But she is getting paid. She's getting paid to go to college. And the internship is part of that college. So she is not technically working for them. But she does still get the experience recorded. And meanwhile, what is she giving to the rest of us for that? Is she doing anything with that education? Is she utilizing it to to help people? Is she utilizing that education that we, the taxpayers, have paid for? Is she utilizing any of those bachelor's degrees for anything at all? Anything at all. I'm not talking about even useful for society. Is she using any of those degrees for anything? No, she's going back for more education on your dollar. Then she gets to brag about how intelligent she is and how hard she worked for her education. No, she didn't. Because most of us are never going to be allowed that education. No matter how hard we work, we're never going to be able to afford that education. We're never going to get the grants for that education. We're going to have to work ourselves to death doing the manual labor. That while we are told that anything a man can do, a woman can do better. Well, women aren't the ones out there doing 95% of the construction jobs. And I only say 95% because we have women who are in accounting in some of these places, who do some of the book management work. And once in a great while, we have a female construction worker who actually shows up to work. But 95% of those, the ones actually tearing up their bodies, doing all of the grunt work, all of the grunt work, all of the stuff that tears up your back, tears up your legs, tears up your joints. Having to use your grip like that every day starts to wear out the padding between your knuckles. Pretty soon you get bone grinding on bone, but you're still expected to work. This is what men do. We man up. We man up. A lot of people, when they saw what I carried in high school and the size that I was, they thought they could pick up my backpack. No, they couldn't. That was the funniest thing, watching people try to pick up my backpack. All them years with that backpack, though, didn't do any good for me. So that guy in Michigan who lost everything. And then he also owes more money because he has to pay her money every month. The amount that she was spending every month while they were married, he owes her. And there's a certain period of time that I'm certain, going to ride out for as long as possible. We're talking about somebody who had almost $100,000 a year habit. Like, this guy made enough money to earn $100,000 a year for her to spend. Although the majority of that should have gone to the bills, should have gone to the house, should have gone to something other than her partying life. So I think the article said it was like 10 or 12 years that this man is going to have to pay that if she doesn't get a spouse between now and then. Now, she's living with her boyfriend. And she's trying to collect this money from this guy who's now homeless. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get to keep shit after that. It doesn't matter what job you have. Your credit is fucked. Your housing is fucked. Your vehicles have been fucking impounded and towed. You can't get to work. You have no place to shower. You're going to a homeless shelter. And here you are, you're at a job that's obviously at least $100,000 a year that guy was earning. At least $100,000 a year that guy was earning. And how is he going to keep that job living at a homeless shelter? Now, it doesn't talk at all about what happened to the guy afterwards. What it talks about is that he was sued and he lost. He was forced into homelessness, and she's not forced to pay him for the loss of his lifestyle. She's not forced to pay him. He's forced to pay her because she got used to getting drunk every night and going out with her friends every night and having girls' nights out every night. She got used to yelling at him and screaming at him and demasculating him, telling him he's not a real man if he can't come up with more money, more money, more money. Of course, she isn't ever going to be able to collect any of that money. He is financially ruined for the rest of his life. It's been a couple of nights here that the young'uns, seems to me, have been quiet. Haven't been driving around like idiots. They're parked down there in the same place. They usually make sure they all park crooked. But they're not tearing around and making noises or honking the horn or yelling out racial slurs or any of that other stuff that they were doing. With that guy in Michigan, it'd be nice if somebody had done a follow-up on it. Where is he now? Where is she now? I mean, the guy lost his house, he lost his job, he lost his car. Where do you go from there? Couldn't pay off any of the bills. Obviously, if you lose your job and you've got everything maxed out, now you have no income and you need to spend your money on food, water, and shelter. You know, I'm almost afraid to look into it. I'm gonna try looking into it and see what did happen to him. If he's still alive, if he's got family or friends that took him in, if he got lucky, basically. Or the thing that I'm afraid of is to look it up and find out that he ended his life. A lot of people do. But they didn't have that part in the article. Well, not article, it was on a YouTube video. But it's got the thing from the article that they show on the YouTube video, and it's one of those things where it's more than just a passing interest because it has real life implications for all of us. The sheer number of women who have done this and feel that it's okay and later on brag about it. Now, this guy, one of the things that he was showing is wanting to show is that she was bragging about these things on her other Facebook. It was like she had two completely different lifestyles. There's the wife that he was coming home to, who was well kept, well groomed, and very pretty, and also spent lots of money to make sure that the house had a bunch of pretty looking things in it that they didn't need. She wanted to live beyond their means. Even though she sued him, you can't squeeze water out of a rock, and you can't squeeze blood out of a turnip. She rode him for everything that he was worth. And she guaranteed that he's in a hole that he's not going to be able to pull himself out of. She was able to make it his fault. His fault because he's a man.